and welcome to Eye on South Asia. I am Nitya Karthik.
And I am Sunil Hali.
Every week we bring to you news and events of the South Asian community in North America. Let's move on to this week's top stories. Sunil, this week it has to be all about Hurricane Irene.
It sure is, and this hurricane has really taught us how to be prepared. That is one message, even though it had to be downgraded eventually. But Nitya, you will agree, the administration right from the feds to the state to the city, especially New York, New Jersey, were extraordinarily prepared.
Absolutely.
And every department, I think, was very, very well prepared. You look at the mass transit system, you look at the police department, you look at the Coastal Guard. I mean, it really showed how this administration, once it has a resolve to tackle something, and most importantly, how they care about the human life. That even if eventually when they found out the hurricane was not category number 1, it had to be downgraded
to a tropical storm.
Even then they said it was not worth to lose one life or risk it, even though of course we had some losses.
Yes.
But I think it was an extraordinary way of handling an administrative nightmare that was facing them. And I guess you all also left very early on Friday.
We did, we all did. We had to be prepared because the mass transit system was shut down completely following Saturday afternoon, be it the path which was between New Jersey and New York, or be it the subway system. Everything was down and everything was out.
And it's not that just people were going back to their home. There are people going to their home to pack up
and evacuate.
And rent their vans because they were forced to evacuate.
That's right.
And they had to move to Pennsylvania. Some of them went to their friends, some of them went to their relatives' homes. I think we just got lucky, you know.
We did.
And I think it's also started a little later. Originally they had thought it will probably start at about 1 o'clock on Saturday and go on till the wee hours of the morning on Sunday. But it really started very late on Saturday. That gave us a lot of time before people could really, you know, get prepared and move out. And did you lose any electricity at your home?
No, we were lucky in Jersey City. Our part of the city didn't lose any electricity, so that was a big plus. But what was really astounding was the sight of the supermarkets. The shelves were empty, and come Friday evening, Saturday morning, everyone was packed and everyone was stocked. But it really was the case of preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
And if you must have seen those pictures, which probably we're going to show it to our viewers.
Yes.
Thank God the bigger markets were clear and the malls were almost clear, because some of the malls in some of the cities are actually completely underwater.
Absolutely.
You know about what happened to the Passaic County in New Jersey.
Yes.
Because the river coming up over the bridge and overflowing all the roads is completely taken over the city. It's completely underwater. Yes. The homes, the malls, the stores. This is not a good sight, but the best part about this whole thing, like I said, is that despite being such a high category storm, in 118 years they talked about, we really didn't lose much. By some estimates, I think there were about 8 or 10 lives really lost, but final counts have yet to come in. And we have our own mayor, Muhammad Hamimuddin in Teaneck. He happily, actually, and thankfully, declared they lost only 35 trees.
It could have been so much more.
Yeah, you never know, because in South Jersey, one of the trees fell on the car and the kid was dead right on the spot.
Oh.
And on the other hand, you have Mayor Harvinder, our own Mr. Harvinder Hari Anand, who is the mayor of Laurel Hollow. Hollow, I'm sorry. We have been talking about him and his re-election. I think this is the 4th time. And he was not so lucky. You know, his town, which happens to be on the Long Island, which was one of the most critical areas, got hit. But I think administratively they also managed. And
the village hall was not so lucky. It was affected. Power was out, internet was out, electricity was out. They were down for the count.
Right. But with this storm behind us, we started the week very, very well. We have a great news on the news that we covered probably a week or 2 ago about the Sikh coalition.
Yes. And
the new bill that has been passed. And not only it's been passed now, the Mayor Bloomberg has declared it into a religious freedom, it's called the Religious Freedom Bill, into a law. I mean, this is extraordinary measure. You know, the mayor has really taken the big step forward. It is not just only for Sikh community, even though Sikh coalition organization was on the forefront. it is for all faiths, you know, even the Muslims, they had issues. Some of them who worked in MTA had to observe certain things, like, for example, they had to wear some kind of...
they had to brand their turbans with the MTA logo.
Yep.
And this was taken especially after 9/11.
Yes. You know, the Sikhs have said they have really suffered in the employment discrimination, and especially when their own identity was questioned. By some research report which has come out from the coalition in 2008, 1 out of 10 Sikhs in New York has reported that they have suffered discrimination. Wow. I think, you know, it's not really something we all want to be facing, and rightfully so. Amardeep Singh, who has been in the forefront, program director and co-founder of Sikh Coalition, says this new law will squarely focus an employer's eye on whether they can perform their job and nothing else. And he says today's law is a major step forward in ensuring Sikhs and other religious minorities are not unfairly excluded from jobs for which they are otherwise qualified.
Absolutely.
And he really strongly thanks Mayor Bloomberg, and actually our own Gurmeet Sori, who is also an anchor and a lead reporter. She was at the City Hall where Mayor Bloomberg declared this into a law. I think let's get her on the phone and hear her out.
Absolutely.
So Gurmeet, tell us about this Workplace Religious Freedom Act, which you were at the City Hall where Mayor Bloomberg declared it into a law. What was the feeling?
You know, it was really a feeling that can't be described, because it gives, this bill has been worked on for the last 6 years by Sikh Coalition and then further sponsored by Councilman Mark Webran. So it was really a feeling that really, it makes you feel exhilarated that finally this law has been passed and it has been signed, which gives all of us, not just Sikhs, but other religions as well, a freedom in their workplace to practice their religion and work up to par.
Yeah, so let me ask you one more time, because last time when we talked about the bill, at that time it was not a law. So will it be a mandatory requirement for every employer to follow it, or it is still left to some kind of discretion?
No, it's not left anymore. It's not just left out there. It is now into effect, and it is signed, and it is a law. It was passed 2 weeks ago and signed 2 days ago officially. And no, it's not something that an employer can choose to say that I would like to or not like to. If they don't adhere by it, yes, there are legal actions that they would have to face. So this is not an optional thing anymore. It is absolutely a law.
See, isn't it kind of historical that a bill was just passed 2 weeks and the mayor chooses to make it a law so quickly? Has there been a precedent to that?
Oh, it's actually, it's not just 2 weeks. It's been worked on for the last 6 years.
No. What I meant was the bill was passed only 2 weeks ago, and within no time the mayor chooses to make it a law.
Well, I think it's great on Mayor Bloomberg's part to do this, because, as you know, this is his last term. We also, of course, as a community, want to push it to get it signed as soon as possible. So the sooner we have it, the better it is, because then it gives us an option that, God forbid, something happened a month from now and this is not executed and not in place, then you fall into those guidelines that you're not covered by it. So I'm glad that it was pushed. Yes, it was executed really fast and it was pushed very fast. I'm glad that it was done this way, because it only gives us protection sooner rather than later.
Yep. Thank you very much, Gurmeet. Congratulations to you and the team at Sikh Coalition. Of course, we'll continue to follow in case there is some groups or some organizations don't follow it and don't respect the religious belief of especially the Sikh community in this case, or the Muslim community, which were facing discrimination. Once again, thank you very much, Gurmeet.
Thank you, and thanks to you and your team as well for recognizing it and bringing it to the forefront and to the public. So thank you.
Thank you. So Nitya, like Gurmeet said, it's a very big step forward for this bill, the community, so that they can have their own religious observance. Even though this has been passed by the city, as you know, there has been continuous input to Senator John Kerry, who is in the forefront for introducing the Workplace Religious Freedom Act year after year.
Yes.
And this law, even though it's been introduced in New York and has been accepted, it still does not mean that Fed have to follow it at the same time, which is an irony because Sikh community, the Muslim community are in the US Army, even fighting in
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Yes, absolutely.
And Sikhs have been always, like we discussed in the past, that have been in the armies for UK, have been in Canadian, have been in German, have been in French, and they never face this type of situation. And here is an extraordinary circumstance here, where in US, which is the most democratic, most freedom-loving country, they have to face such a situation. Hopefully, with this law,
with this bill,
the door has been opened.
Yes. Let's move on to the next story.
Which is very sad, very
It's
sad.
heart-rending no matter which way you look at it. There is this mother, Naina Gauri Patel, who was accused of the murder of her 2 daughters, and she blames a ghost for having led her do this.
Which is very strange because if you look at the whole circumstances, as you said, this girl, Naina Gauri Patel, she is, I think, from Carolinas.
Yes.
And what they say is really happened is her husband on Saturday left for work, and all of a sudden she chooses to pick her 2 kids. I think one of the kid is 4-year-old Pia and the other one is 7-year-old Gia. The kids hardly have seen life. And their mother, in some kind of an outburst, we don't know what the reasons are, even though they're pointing at, I think she had a incomplete pregnancy.
Yeah, her pregnancy was terminated, and so she was on antidepressant medication. So they say that the condition was a result of that.
And she chooses to kill both kids.
Yes.
At the end of it, I think she was going to kill herself.
She was, the alleged murder weapon was in her hands, and she had self-inflicted wounds with that alleged weapon. So we don't know what really happened.
And her husband came in and he picked up whole situation, and then
the 3 of them were grievously injured at that point, but the 2 of them, the 2 kids, unfortunately passed as soon as they reached the hospital, and the mother was fighting for her life, but she was refusing treatment of any kind.
And she still says that she did not kill them.
She did not kill them, and that it was some kind of a supernatural presence which prompted her to do it. No matter what, at the end of the day, there were 2 little lives lost, and there's no getting that back.
Which is very, very unfortunate. And she has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. And I guess this is very, very unfortunate. My heart goes to the 2 little ones who lost their life. Now, moving on to this big story, once again, year after year, as the Forbes magazine declares the world's most powerful ladies, and we have our own, some of them making to the list.
Oh, it makes me so very proud to see this.
I'm sure one of these days, who knows, you may be getting into that bracket.
I wish.
Yeah, why not? And again, year after year, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has been there since 2005 at the #1 position, and this year again she beats Mrs. Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State for US, and closely followed by the first-time president from Brazil. She is Dilma Rousseff, and right after that comes our own Indira Nooyi. Now, you see, there is a little kind of a connection. Most of the people, and the one right after Indira Nooyi is our own Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who is at the #7 position though after Indira Nooyi. And of course, we have 2 more people, Chanda Kochhar, who is only 49 years old. She is the chairperson of India's largest private bank, ICICI. And then followed by Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, who's been making a lot of waves in the biochemical area with her own industries, and she's at #99. But you will notice that at the top level is mostly the politicians. And in between those, you have a decorated personality like Indira Nooyi. She's hardly a politician. There were talks about she may be helping the Department of State or maybe Washington, D.C. for some reasons. Do you think she'll go into politics at some point?
I don't think so. The way it looks like, she has always concentrated on her career. She's been the ultimate corporate woman. So I don't see her going anywhere in politics though.
But you know, you never know. Yeah, there are all kinds of possibilities in this world. She's a very bright person. You know, if you look at the needs of the US today, they just don't need politicians. They need people who are bright, who can put this businesses back to work, the economy back to work. I think I'll take your word for that, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. You never know, Indira may end up in Washington, D.C. or who knows, in New Delhi.
I'll be proud to see her there too.
Yeah.
Well, Sunil, before we move on to the next segment, let's take a short break.
Sure.
Stay right there.